The summer heat was heavy as Dr. Taiwan Park wiped sweat from his forehead. His knees hurt from hours of careful digging beneath the ancient Jiangju ruins. Most of his team had left for the day, but Taiwan always stayed late. He believed secrets revealed themselves only to the most patient. Just a little more, he whispered to himself, brushing dirt from what looked like a stone door. The small lamp on his helmet cast long shadows across the narrow tunnel. A soft voice called from behind him. "Still at it, Taiwan." He turned to see Dr. Ji-Soo Kim making her way through the tunnel. Her dark hair was tied back, and dust covered her glasses. They had dated for 2 years before work pulled them apart, but they remained close friends and colleagues. "Ji-Soo, look at this." Taiwan pointed to strange marks on the stone door. "Have you ever seen anything like these symbols?" Ji-Soo adjusted her glasses and leaned closer. "No, these don't match any known Korean writing from this period." With careful hands, they cleared more dirt away. The symbols became clearer, strange circles, lines, and shapes that seemed to form diagrams. "This can't be right," Ji-Soo said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "These look like equations." Taiwan nodded slowly. "And look here." He pointed to drawings along the bottom of the door. "Does that remind you of anything?" Ji-Soo stared at the crude drawing. It showed what looked like a tube with flames coming from one end, and inside was the shape of a person. "It almost looks like..." She stopped herself from saying it. "A spacecraft," Taiwan finished for her. They exchanged worried glances. Such a finding would change everything known about Korean history, about human history. "We need to open this door," Taiwan said. Together, they found a small gap and wedged their tools in. With a grinding sound, the stone door moved slightly, revealing pitch darkness beyond. "Hand me the camera," Taiwan said. As Ji-Soo passed him the digital camera, it made a strange buzzing noise. The screen flickered with static. "That's odd," Ji-Soo said, checking the battery. It was fully charged this morning. Taiwan took out his phone to use as a light, but it wouldn't turn on either. "Something's interfering with the electronics." Using their backup flashlights, they pushed the door open wider and stepped through. The air inside was surprisingly fresh, not stale like most sealed chambers. The room beyond was small but lined with more symbols. Some were mathematical formulas Ji-Soo recognized from her physics background. Others showed more detailed drawings of what could only be described as space vehicles. "This is impossible," she whispered. "These formulas relate to wormhole theory. Modern physics only developed these concepts in the last century." Taiwan ran his fingers along the wall. "According to history, humans first went to space in 1961. But these carvings are at least 1,000 years old." A low humming started around them. The flashlights flickered. "We need to document everything before we report this," Taiwan said urgently. Their backup camera also failed, so they used paper and charcoal to make rubbings of the symbols. As they worked, Ji-Soo froze. "Did you hear that?" From above, the sound of vehicles and voices drifted down. "Someone's at the site," Taiwan whispered. "It's almost midnight. Nobody should be here." They quickly gathered their rubbings and slipped out of the chamber, carefully pulling the stone door closed behind them. As they made their way through the tunnels, flashlight beams appeared at the main entrance. "This way," Ji-Soo pulled Taiwan toward a narrow side passage they had mapped earlier that month. "Who would come here at this hour?" "Someone who knew what we would find," Taiwan replied grimly. They emerged from a hidden exit half a kilometer from the main site just in time to see black SUVs with no markings surrounding the ruins. Men in dark uniforms carried equipment into the tunnels. "We need to leave," Ji-Soo said, tucking the precious rubbings into her backpack. "And we can't tell anyone what we found until we understand what's happening." Taiwan nodded, his mind racing with questions. If humans had been to space long before officially recorded, why would someone hide that truth? And more importantly, who had the power to keep such a secret? Taiwan's small apartment became their hiding place. 3 days had passed since they fled the Gyeongju site. Outside, rain tapped against the windows as Jisoo spread their rubbings across the kitchen table. "Look at these equations again," she said, pointing to a series of symbols. "They describe wormhole physics, but with a different approach than what we use today." Taiwan nodded. "I checked the news. Nothing about the dig site or unknown visitors. It's like it never happened." Jisoo's phone rang. It was the university department head. "Dr. Kim, where have you been? Your classes." The voice sounded angry. "I'm sorry, Professor. I've been working at the Gyeongju site with Dr. Park. We found something important that—" "Dr. Park." The voice turned cold. "He was removed from the project last month. Are you saying you've been working with him without permission?" Jisoo looked at Taiwan with wide eyes. "That's not true. He's been leading the dig for 2 years. I suggest you return to campus immediately and stay away from Park. His wild theories have damaged his reputation enough." The call ended. Jisoo's hands shook. "They're erasing you. How is that possible?" Taiwan sat down heavily. "Someone doesn't want our discovery to become public." A knock at the door made them both jump. Taiwan looked through the peephole and sighed with relief. He opened the door to a young man with round glasses and a friendly smile. "Do-hyun, come in quickly." Do-hyun Lee was Taiwan's childhood friend and a computer expert who worked for a major tech company. He shook the rain from his jacket. "You two are in big trouble," Do-hyun said, pulling out his laptop. "The university website no longer lists Taiwan as faculty. Your research papers are being taken down from academic sites. Someone is erasing your professional existence." "But who has that kind of power?" Jisoo asked. Do-hyun typed rapidly. "I did some digging. 3 different government agencies visited the university yesterday. One called itself the Historical Preservation Bureau. Never heard of it before." "What about the symbols we found?" Taiwan asked. Do-hyun's face lit up. "That's why I came. I ran image recognition software on your rubbings and found something incredible." He turned his laptop to show them. Similar symbols have been found at 6 other archaeological sites worldwide in the past century. Each discovery was quickly covered up. The screen showed photos from Egypt, Peru, China, and other locations. Each had symbols matching those they found. "There's more," Do-hyun continued. "I hacked into some classified archives. Look at this." He played a grainy black and white video. The date stamp read 1843. It showed men in old-fashioned clothes standing around what looked like a metal tube pointed toward the sky. Flames erupted from the bottom, and the tube rose slowly before the video cut off. "This can't be real," Jisoo whispered. "The file was triple encrypted in military archives," Do-hyun said. "Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide it." A car pulled up outside. Through the window, they saw a black SUV like those at the dig site. "We need to leave," Taiwan said, quickly gathering the rubbings. "There's a back exit," Do-hyun said. "I have a friend's cabin in the mountains where we can hide." As they headed for the door, Jisoo stopped. "Wait, who are these people? What happens if they catch us?" Taiwan looked grim. "I don't know, but they're erasing history, our history. Something happened in space long ago, something humanity wasn't supposed to know about, and we've stumbled onto it." They slipped out the back door just as heavy footsteps approached Taiwan's apartment. In the rain, they ran toward Do-hyun's car, the precious rubbings protected inside Jisoo's waterproof bag. As they drove away, a tall man in a dark suit watched from the street. Director Hyun Woo-choi of the Historical Preservation Bureau spoke quietly into his phone. "The targets have escaped with evidence. Protocol breach confirmed." He paused, listening. "Yes, sir. For the safety of humanity, we will contain this. They cannot be allowed to learn the truth about what happened in the stars." Do-hyun's friend's cabin sat deep in the mountains, far from any main roads. For 5 days, they lived in hiding. Do-hyun set up a secure computer system that couldn't be tracked easily. Taiwan and Jisoo studied the rubbings, trying to decode more of the strange symbols. On the sixth morning, while fixing breakfast, Jisoo looked out the window and froze. "Someone's coming," she whispered. Taiwan and Do-hyun joined her at the window. The lone figure hiked up the mountain path. "Maybe it's just a hiker," Do-hyun said, but he didn't sound convinced. They watched as the person approached. It was an older man with gray hair, wearing hiking clothes and carrying a walking stick. He stopped at the cabin door and knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The 3 friends exchanged looks. "That's not a normal knock," Ta-won whispered. "We should run," Jisoo said. Before they could decide, the man spoke. "Dr. Park, Dr. Kim. My name is Sung Min Kang. I'm not with the Bureau. I'm here to help." "How does he know our names?" Jisoo whispered. Do-hyun moved to a drawer and pulled out a small gun. "I'll check. Stay back." Carefully, Do-hyun opened the door, keeping the gun hidden behind his back. The old man smiled. "I was an astronaut in the Korean space program. Before that, I worked for the government. I know what you found at Gyeongju." "How?" Ta-won asked, stepping forward. "Because there are others like you who found similar things. People who asked questions the world wasn't ready to hear." Some men held out a small device that looked like a phone. "May I come in? It's not safe to talk outside." Inside, some men placed the device on the table. It projected a hologram map showing glowing dots across the world. Each light represents someone who discovered the truth about humanity's real space history. Some men explained, "We call ourselves the Rememberers. For decades, we've been finding evidence that humans went to space long before the official records show." "Why would anyone hide that?" Jisoo asked. "It would be humanity's greatest achievement." Sung Min's face grew serious. "Because something happened out there. Something that made world leaders agree to erase that history and start over." "That's impossible," Do-hyun said. "You can't make the whole world forget something so big." "You can if you're scared enough," Sung Min replied. "Or if you're forced to." He touched the device again. It showed images of more symbols like those they found, along with old documents and photos. The Historical Preservation Bureau isn't just Korean. Every major nation has a similar group with different names. They've been hiding the truth for generations. "What is the truth?" Ta-won asked. "We believe humanity achieved spaceflight centuries ago. We sent ships beyond our solar system. But then something happened that was so terrible, so frightening, that world leaders agreed to reset human progress. They erased the evidence and created a false timeline of technological development." Jisoo shook her head. "But that would take incredible coordination." "Yes," Sung Min agreed, "which tells you how serious the threat must have been." "What threat?" Do-hyun asked. Before Sung Min could answer, his device beeped. He checked it and stood quickly. "Bureau agents are in the area. We need to move. There's a Remember safe house 2 hours from here. We'll meet others there who can help explain more." As they packed their few belongings, Ta-won asked, "Why help us? It's dangerous for you." Sung Min smiled sadly. "My grandfather was part of the original space program. He passed down forbidden knowledge through our family. The truth belongs to all humanity, not just those who want to control it." They left the cabin, taking a hidden trail deeper into the mountains. As they walked, Sung Min pointed to the sky. "We've been there before, long ago. And whatever we found changed the course of human history. Now we need to discover what really happened before they silence us all." The Remember safe house was an old mining office hidden in a valley. Inside, maps and photos covered the walls. 6 other people greeted them, all members of the Rememberers from different countries. "We've been studying your rubbings," said an older woman named Mina. She pointed to a table where their copied symbols were laid out. "The mathematical patterns hide a message." Jisoo looked closer. "What kind of message?" "Coordinates," Mina said. Look how these symbols repeat in a specific order. Taiwan studied the pattern and nodded slowly. She's right. These could be map coordinates. Do-hyun typed the numbers into his computer, and a map appeared on the screen. It's a location in the Taebaek Mountains, about 4 hours from here. What's there? Taiwan asked. Sung-min exchanged looks with Mina. We don't know, but many ancient texts with similar symbols point to that area. We should go, Jisoo said. If these symbols really are from our ancestors who went to space, this could be where they launched from. It's dangerous, Sung-min warned. The Bureau watches that area closely. We've come too far to stop now, Taiwan said firmly. The next morning, they set out in 2 cars. Sung-min, Taiwan, Jisoo, and Do-hyun in one. Mena and 2 other members in another. They followed mountain roads until they reached a point where they had to continue on foot. The coordinates led them to what looked like an ordinary rock face, but Taiwan noticed something unusual. These rocks don't match the surrounding mountain, he said, feeling the surface. They're arranged too perfectly. Jisoo studied her copy of the symbols. According to these equations, there should be a way to open it. Do-hyun ran his hands along the rock and found a small crack. Here, it feels different. Together, they pushed on the section of rock. Slowly, a hidden door opened, revealing a dark tunnel. Incredible, Sung-min whispered. We've searched for this entrance for years. Using flashlights, they entered the tunnel. It sloped downward for about 100 meters before opening into a large room cut into the mountain. What they saw inside made them stop in amazement. The room contained old machinery unlike anything they'd seen before. Metal parts were arranged in what looked like engine components. On the walls hung diagrams showing the same spacecraft designs from the Gyeongju hieroglyphs. This can't be from the 1800s, Jisoo said, examining a metal cylinder. This level of metallurgy wasn't possible then. Do-hyun picked up what looked like a control panel. This is like no technology I've ever seen. It's both primitive and advanced at the same time. Sung-min moved to a dusty desk where old leather books sat. He opened one carefully. These are logs, records of space missions. They gathered around as he turned the brittle pages. The writing was in an old form of English mixed with other languages. Dates at the top of each page ranged from 1838 to 1847. Listen to this, Sung-min read slowly. Mission 12, February 1842. Ship reached star system previously identified. No signs of life on outer planets. Captain Han reports strange signals from 4th planet. We'll investigate further. They really went to other star systems. Jisoo whispered. How is this possible? Taiwan pointed to the equations on the wall. These formulas describe wormhole travel. Somehow they discovered principles of physics we're only beginning to understand now. Sung-min turned to the final page in the logbook. His face grew pale as he read. Final entry, December 1847. Contact established with non-Earth intelligence. They are far beyond our development. Protocol 0 initiated immediately. May future generations forgive us. Protocol 0. Do-hyun asked. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, they heard a noise from the tunnel entrance. Flashlight beams appeared, moving toward them. Someone's coming, Mina whispered. It's the Bureau, Sung-min said grimly. They found us. Quick, gather what you can, Sung-min ordered as the flashlight beams grew closer. Taiwan grabbed the logbook while Jisoo took photos of the wall equations with her phone. Do-hyun stuffed a small control panel into his backpack. There's another exit, Mina said, pointing to a narrow passage at the back of the room. The old maps show it leads out to the other side of the mountain. As Bureau agents entered the main chamber, the group slipped into the passage. They could hear shouts behind them as they ran through the dark tunnel. After 20 minutes of climbing upward, they emerged from a hidden exit among trees. We need to split up, Sung-min said. It's safer that way. They quickly made a plan. Jisoo and Taiwan would go with Sung Min to meet another rememberer who worked at an observatory in Mongolia. The star coordinates in the logs might help them understand what the ancient astronauts had discovered. Du Hyun would go with Mina to try to hack into the Bureau's systems to learn more about Protocol Zero. Be careful, Taiwan told Du Hyun as they parted. These people will do anything to keep the secret. You too, Du Hyun replied. Call me when you reach Mongolia. 3 days later, after a difficult journey across the border, Jisoo, Taiwan, and Sung Min arrived at a small observatory high in the Mongolian mountains. A woman named Yoon Ji-yoon greeted them. She had short gray hair and kind eyes. Welcome, fellow truth hunters, she said. Sung Min has told me about your discovery. Inside the observatory, Yoon-ji showed them her work. For 15 years, she had been tracking unusual signals from a specific star system. The signals don't match any known natural pattern, she explained. They repeat every 157 days, exactly. Jisoo looked at the data on Yoon-ji's computer screen. These signal patterns match the mathematical sequence from the hieroglyphs. Taiwan spread out the photos of the symbols they had taken. You're right. It's the same sequence. Yoon-ji nodded. I've been watching this star system for years. Something there is sending a message. The same message that was written in your ancient symbols. Meanwhile, Du Hyun had reached Seoul with Mina. Disguised as computer maintenance workers, they entered an office building that housed a secret bureau facility. If I can connect to their network for just 5 minutes, I can copy their files, Du Hyun whispered as they rode the elevator to the 14th floor. In a server room, Du Hyun plugged a device into a computer. Files began copying to his drive. But as they waited, the door opened. Director Hyun Woo-choi walked in with 2 guards. I expected someone would try this, he said calmly. What I didn't expect was how quickly you would find the facility in the mountains. Mina tried to run, but the guards caught her. Du Hyun stood his ground. Why are you hiding the truth? He demanded. People have a right to know about our history. Director Choi's face showed no emotion. You think I'm the villain here? I'm protecting humanity. From what? Du Hyun asked. From extinction, Choi replied. But you won't understand until it's too late. Back in Mongolia, Sung Min sat with Taiwan on the observatory deck, watching the night sky. My grandfather was just a boy when Protocol Zero happened, Sung Min said quietly. His father was one of the astronauts who made contact. What did your grandfather tell you? Taiwan asked. Not much. He was afraid to speak of it, but he said the stars hold both wonder and danger for humans. He said our ancestors made a terrible choice, to go backward in order to survive. Inside the observatory, Jisoo and Yoon-ji made a breakthrough. Using the observatory's powerful equipment, they managed to decode part of the signal from the distant star system. Taiwan, Sung Min, Jisoo called out excitedly. We've decoded it. The signal contains a warning from our own ancestors. As Taiwan and Sung Min rushed inside, Yoon-ji's computer screen displayed the first translated words of the message. To future humanity. The OVE or CERs ARE do note EREVEL You know, the overseers. Taiwan read the message again. Who are they? Jisoo worked quickly at the computer, trying to decode more of the signal. There's more data coming through. The message continued to appear on the screen, word by word. In 1847, humanity MET and ADVANCED alien race. They gave US a choice. Return to PRE space technology or face destruction. World leaders CEO's survival. This is incredible, Yoon-ji whispered. Our ancestors actually met aliens. Sung Min nodded grimly. And they forced us to go backward. More text appeared. The OVERCERs used DPOWERFULTC technology to ERAC memorize and alter records. A small juro is alodvd to remember, to ensure the agreement way is kept. The keepers, Taiwan said. That must be what the Bureau really is, descendants of those who remembered. In Seoul, Du Hyun sat in a plain room with white walls. Director Choi entered alone and placed a folder on the table. Your friends have discovered the signal by now, Choi said. So let me fill in what they don't know yet. He opened the folder, showing old photographs of men in 19th century clothes standing next to what looked like primitive spacecraft. In the 1830s, a group of scientists from different countries made a breakthrough in physics. They discovered principles that let them create wormholes, shortcuts through space. They built ships that could travel to other star systems in days instead of centuries. That's not possible, Du Hyun said. Even our best science today can't do that. Because we were forced to start over, Choi replied. We lost that knowledge on purpose. Why would anyone agree to that? Choi's face darkened. Because the alternative was extinction. When our ships reached a distant star system, they encountered the overseers, a civilization thousands of years more advanced than ours. The overseers saw our rapid progress as a threat. Back in Mongolia, Jisoo had decoded more of the message. It explained how the overseers had offered humanity a choice. Return to an earlier technological state and have all knowledge of space travel erased, or be destroyed completely. World leaders chose survival, Taiwan read from the screen. They agreed to reset human progress. The message says the overseers had technology that could alter human memories and historical records. Jisoo added, but they allowed a small group to remember the truth to make sure humanity kept the agreement. The Bureau, Sung Min said, that's their real purpose, to stop us from advancing too quickly and breaking the treaty. Eun-jae looked worried. But we've already gone back to space. We have satellites, space stations, and missions to other planets. That's what worries me. Sung Min replied. We might already be breaking the agreement. In Seoul, Choi showed Du Hyun more documents. The treaty allowed us to develop slowly, Choi explained. The overseers check on us every few hundred years, but our recent space advancements are happening too fast. The next inspection is coming soon. How soon? Du Hyun asked. Within months, Choi said. My organization has been trying to slow humanity's space progress without revealing why. If people knew the truth, they would panic. Some would want to fight back, which would guarantee our destruction. So you've been sabotaging our own progress. Du Hyun was angry now. Keeping humanity in the dark. To keep humanity alive, Choi corrected him. The overseer's technology is beyond anything we can imagine. They can alter reality itself. In Mongolia, the final part of the message appeared. Warning. The overseers return to Chikaki. Alliance, 300 years. Next visit, 2047. But they are already doing GJ. Eng. Your recent space activity, AK is BENDETCTED. Pour pair. 2047. Taiwan said. That's over 20 years away. No, Jisoo said, checking the date the message was sent. This warning was recorded in 1847. It's not saying 2047. It's saying 2047 from then. Eun-ji's face went pale as she did the math. That's this year. The overseers are coming now. Panic filled the small observatory in Mongolia. Some men paced back and forth, while Eun-ji checked her telescope data. We need to warn people, Taiwan said. No one will believe us, Jisoo replied. And the Bureau will stop us before we can spread the word. Sung Min's phone rang. It was Mina calling from a new number. I escaped, she said, her voice shaky. They're still holding Du Hyun. But I copied some files before they caught us. The Bureau has been tracking unusual objects at the edge of our solar system for months. They believe it's them, the overseers. How much time do we have? Sung Min asked. Weeks, maybe days, Mena answered. I'm sending you the coordinates. The objects are moving fast toward Earth. After the call, Jisoo studied the star charts. These coordinates matched the star system from the warning message. The overseers are definitely coming. We need to get Do Hyun out, Ta-won said. And we need a plan. In Seoul, Do Hyun sat across from Director Choi in a different room now. This one had maps and screens showing the solar system, with blinking dots moving toward Earth. You see now? Choi asked. We're not the villains. We've been protecting humanity from a threat that they couldn't understand. By keeping us in the dark, Do Hyun replied. By slowing our progress. It was the only way, Choi said. The agreement is clear. If humans advance too quickly in space technology, the overseers will return. And he didn't finish the sentence. And what? Kill us all. Why would they care about us? Choi sighed. The overseers believe rapid technological development leads to violence and destruction. They've seen it happen with many civilizations. They see themselves as gardeners of the galaxy, pruning threats before they can spread. But we're not threats, Do Hyun argued. Aren't we? Choi asked. Look at human history. Look at what we do to each other, to our planet. The overseers believe that if we reach their level of technology too quickly, we would bring chaos to the stars. A woman rushed into the room with a tablet. Director, we've confirmed. 5 objects have passed Mars' orbit, moving toward Earth. Estimated arrival: 10 days. Choi's face showed real fear for the first time. It's too late. They're coming to check if we've kept our end of the agreement. In Mongolia, the group made plans to rescue Do Hyun. But before they could leave, they spotted Bureau vehicles approaching the observatory. They found us, Sung Min said, looking through binoculars. To everyone's surprise, only one person stepped out of the lead vehicle, Director Choi himself. He walked to the observatory entrance alone, hands raised to show he carried no weapon. I need to speak with you, he called out. It's about the overseers. Cautiously, they let him inside. Taiwan immediately demanded, Where is Do Hyun? He's safe, Choi said. I released him. He's on his way here now. Why should we trust you? Jisoo asked. Because we're out of time, Choi replied. The overseers will be here in 10 days. When they see our current level of space technology, they'll know we've advanced too quickly. The agreement will be broken. So tell the world the truth, Taiwan suggested. Let humanity prepare. Choi shook his head. That would make things worse. Global panic would lead to chaos. Military forces would prepare to fight, which would only convince the overseers that we're dangerous. Sung Min stepped forward. What do you suggest, then? I don't know, Choi admitted. For generations, my family has worked to keep humanity safe by keeping this secret. But now, he looked tired and old. Now I think we need new ideas. Perhaps your discovery happened for a reason. Eunji suddenly called from her computer. Everyone, come quick. I found something in the old logs that Taiwan took from the facility. They gathered around as she pointed to a page they hadn't noticed before. It showed a drawing of a strange device with equations around it. According to this, Eunji said, our ancestors were developing a defense against the overseers' memory technology. They never finished it before the treaty was signed. Jisoo studied the equations. These matched the final part of the warning message. I think our ancestors were trying to tell us how to protect ourselves. Can you build it? Choi asked, hope in his voice for the first time. Maybe, Jisoo said, with help. Outside, more vehicles approached. Do Hyun stepped out of one, joined by Mina and other rememberers from around the world. We got your message, Do Hyun said as he entered. The truth hunters are here. What's the plan? The observatory became a center of frantic activity. Rememberers from 12 countries worked alongside Bureau agents who had joined their cause. Director Choi had convinced many of his people that the old approach of secrecy was no longer enough. 9 days until the overseers arrive, Do Hyun announced, updating the countdown on a large screen. In the main room, Ji-soo worked with a team to understand the defense technology from the old logs. Our ancestors were brilliant, she told Taiwan during a short break. They discovered principles of quantum physics that we're only beginning to understand today. Can you build what they designed? Taiwan asked. The basic design is here, Ji-soo said, pointing to the diagrams. It creates a field that blocks the overseer's memory-altering technology. But we need to update it with modern components, and we need to make it much bigger. Director Choi joined them. How big? Global, Ji-soo replied. If we want to protect all of humanity. Choi looked shocked. That's impossible in 9 days. Not if we use existing infrastructure, Do Hyun said, joining the conversation. Cell phone towers, satellite networks, power grids, we can modify them to carry the signal. That would require telling the truth to governments around the world, Choi pointed out. The room fell silent as everyone considered this. For generations, the secret had been kept by a small group. Now they faced a choice: keep hiding the truth and hope for mercy from the overseers, or reveal everything and try to fight back. Some men stepped forward. I've lived with this secret my whole life. My father and grandfather before me did the same. They believed they were protecting humanity. He looked around the room at all the faces watching him. But now I see we were wrong. We weren't protecting humanity. We were holding it back. The overseers wanted us weak and afraid. By keeping this secret, we helped them. Taiwan nodded. The truth belongs to everyone, not just a few. If we tell the world, Choi warned, there will be chaos, fear, panic. Yes, Ji-soo agreed, but also unity, hope, determination. Humans have faced terrible threats before. We survive because we work together. The debate continued through the night. By morning, they had reached a decision. They would tell the world the truth and deploy the defense technology globally. Do Hyun set up secure communications with government leaders around the world. With evidence from the facility and the decoded signal, they began sharing the incredible story of humanity's true history in space. As expected, the initial reactions were disbelief, then shock, then fear. But something unexpected also happened. As the truth spread, people around the world began to unite. Old enemies set aside differences to face a common threat. 7 days until arrival, announced Yeonji, updating the countdown. Taiwan watched news reports showing people everywhere preparing. Some built shelters, others joined the global effort to deploy the defense technology. In every country, cell phone towers and satellite dishes were being modified according to Ji-soo's designs. Do you think it will work? Taiwan asked Ji-soo as they watched a team install equipment on the observatory's satellite dish. The science is sound, she replied. But we've never faced anything like the overseers before. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. But not beyond what our ancestors were developing, Taiwan reminded her. They were close to a breakthrough when they were forced to stop. Director Choi approached them with a tablet showing a radar image. We've got better readings on the overseer ships. 5 vessels, each about the size of a small mountain. Have they responded to our attempts to communicate? Sung Min asked. Nothing yet, Choi replied. But they've slowed their approach. They know something has changed. Do Hyun joined them, his face serious. Global deployment is at 60%. We need more time. We don't have more time, Ji-soo said, looking at the countdown. The overseers will be here in 7 days, ready or not. Then we need to be ready, Taiwan said firmly. For all of humanity, we need to finish what our ancestors started. The final days passed in a blur of activity. Around the world, people worked together to prepare for the overseers' arrival. The defense system reached 85% global coverage As the countdown reached its final hours, "They're entering Earth orbit," Yun-ji announced, watching their screens. Outside the observatory windows, the night sky lit up with 5 bright lights that moved unlike any star or plane. The overseer ships had arrived. "Is the system ready?" Ta-1 asked. Jisoo nodded, though her face showed worry. "As ready as it can be. We've never tested it against their technology." Director Choi received calls from world leaders. "Military forces are standing down as agreed," he reported. "We're showing we're not a threat." Some men looked up at the lights in the sky. "My grandfather told me they appear as tall, thin beings of light. No one who saw them ever forgot." Suddenly, all communications around the world began to fail. TV and radio broadcasts cut out. Phone networks went silent. Internet connections dropped. "They're starting," Do-hyun said. "Just like before, they're preparing to alter our memories." Jae-soo moved to the main control panel they had built. "It's time. Everyone ready?" They nodded, and Jisoo pressed the activation button. Around the world, the modified networks came to life, broadcasting the defensive field designed to block the Overseer's memory technology. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the bright lights in the sky pulsed, growing brighter. "Are they attacking?" Ta-1 asked. "No," Jisoo said, checking readings. "I think they're increasing power to their memory system." Minutes passed in tense silence. The lights pulsed again, even brighter. "The defense is holding," Do-hyun reported, watching data flow across his screen. "They can't break through." A new light appeared in the sky, different from the others. It descended slowly toward the observatory. "They're coming here," Sung Min whispered. Outside, a beam of light touched the ground. Within it stood a tall, thin figure that seemed made of glowing energy. Its form shifted and changed as if not fully in their reality. Together, the group walked outside to face the visitor. The being's voice didn't come through the air, but seemed to appear directly in their minds. "You have broken the agreement," it said. The voice felt ancient and cold. Humanity was not to advance in space travel or remember the past. Ta-1 stepped forward. "We remember now, all of us, and we won't forget again." "Your ancestors chose survival," the being reminded them. "Without the agreement, humanity faces extinction." "Our ancestors were afraid," Jisoo said. "We understand why they made that choice, but it wasn't right to keep the truth from future generations." "You are still primitive," the Overseer said. "Still violent. You are not ready for the knowledge of the stars." "That's not your decision to make," Director Choi replied. "We have the right to our own history, our own future." The being seemed to consider this. "Your defiance is unexpected. No species has ever broken our memory technology before. We finished what our ancestors started," Jisoo explained. "They left us the knowledge to defend ourselves. We don't want conflict," Ta-1 added. "But we won't go backward again. We want to move forward, to explore space on our own terms." For a long moment, the Overseer was silent. The 5 lights in the sky pulsed in patterns, as if communicating. Finally, the being spoke again. "We have observed many young species. Most destroy themselves when given too much power too quickly. We sought to prevent that fate for humanity. We might make mistakes," some men said, "but they will be our mistakes to make and learn from." "A new agreement, then," the Overseer proposed. "You may keep your memories and continue your development, but you will be watched. And if you bring violence to the stars, we will return." "We accept those terms," Ta-1 said. "Humanity belongs among the stars, just as our ancestors knew." The beam's form began to fade. "We will be watching," were its final words. As the Overseer departed, the 5 ships in orbit moved away from Earth, accelerating back toward deep space. 1 year later, Ta-1 stood with Jisoo in a crowded museum. Around them, families viewed exhibits showing humanity's true history in space. The ancient hieroglyphs from Gyeongju were displayed prominently, along with artifacts from the mountain facility. "Do you think they'll come back?" Jisoo asked quietly. "Probably," Tadwan replied. "But next time, we'll meet them as equals." A small child pointed at the spacecraft drawings on the wall. "Is that how people went to space long ago?" she asked her mother. "Yes," the mother replied. "And someday, you might go even further." Taiwan smiled. Humanity had reclaimed its past, and with it, its rightful future among the stars.